Not great news for the WNBA.
WNBA superstar Sophie Cunningham
is currently into a domestic type situation,
accused of having an affair with a married Phoenix Suns CEO in an explosive lawsuit
regarding a guy by the name of Gene Taylor,
which should not be the case at all. Sophie Cunningham joins the Suns in denouncing untrue and extremely hurtful claim in lawsuit that CEO Josh Bartelstein had an affair with the ex-Mercury player.
Just minutes ago, Sophie Cunningham shut down shocking affair accusations.
Sophie Cunningham has been accused of some very serious accusations within the NBA executive and money being involved and stuff like that.
And somehow, Caitlin Clark's name is in the middle of it all. The lies, wild. The timing, too perfect to ignore. Is Sophie being targeted just for being Clark's teammate?
The Fever greatly needs Sophie Cunningham back.
You decide. If you stand with Caitlin Clark no matter what, drop 100% for Caitlin in the comments right now.
Caitlin Clark still has the same support she had last year.
Caitlin Clark, generational talent. She's the one. They put the team around her right now.
She is the one.
Caitlin Clark is a likable and lovable superstar. She pays homage.
Caitlin Clark knows what's coming. Caitlin Clark rises up and is the star.
Let's break down what's really going on. Sophie Cunningham currently sidelined with an ankle injury while playing for the Indiana Fever.
Sophie Cunningham currently is on the Indiana Fever basketball team. She's dealing with a left ankle injury. Now, we have not seen Sophie Cunningham play since preseason.
Found herself in the middle of an unexpected media storm. A lawsuit.
The lawsuit claims a senior team official told the claimant that Josh was having a relationship with Cunningham, now a teammate of Caitlin Clark. The lawsuit was filed by Gene Taylor, a current employee of the Suns as their director of security.
Filed by former Suns employee Gene Taylor, accused the CEO of the Phoenix Suns and Mercury, Josh Bartelstein, of having an affair with Cunningham during her time with the Mercury.
Sophie Cunningham joins the Suns in denouncing untrue and extremely hurtful claim in lawsuit that CEO Josh Bartelstein had an affair with the ex-Mercury player.
The accusation wasn't just random gossip. It was part of a larger legal case involving allegations of racial discrimination and organizational misconduct. But somehow Sophie's name got dragged into the headlines. The lawsuit claimed that damaging rumors were being spread about Bartelstein and Cunningham having an intimate relationship.
WNBA star accused of having an affair with the married NBA executive, lawsuit reveals.
And suddenly, social media exploded. Fans started speculating whether Sophie's surprise trade to the Indiana Fever earlier.
We will also look at the reaction of the fans, especially the Fever fans, towards Sophie Cunningham, because she's getting a lot of love right now, considering these allegations.
In 2024 was because of this alleged scandal. Some even questioned if her role with the Suns as a broadcast analyst, where she was reportedly paid more than she would have made playing in the unrivaled league, was connected to this rumored relationship. The speculation spiraled quickly, despite there being zero credible evidence.
Phoenix Sun accused him of racial discrimination. These allegations are delusional and categorically false. These are the allegations placed upon Miss Sophie Cunningham.
Sophie quickly broke her silence, issuing a strong and emotional public statement. She made it clear she's never met Gene Taylor.
Gene Taylor is a black man, certified security expert, is suing his former employer,
the man behind the lawsuit, and the claims were not only false, but deeply hurtful.
Cunningham issued a separate statement. I am deeply saddened by the recent false accusations made against me by Gene Taylor, someone I do not know and never met. Let me be clear, his statements are untrue and extremely hurtful.
Sophie said, I am here to compete, play basketball at the highest level, and win for my team and my fans. I hold myself to the highest integrity, and my values are what guide me on and off the court. She also criticized media outlets for running clickbait stories.
To the media who reported on this, I have always spoken the truth, and I've been transparent with any press inquiry.
Without even attempting to contact her for comment. A common frustration shared by many athletes targeted by rumors. The Phoenix Suns, Mercury, and Fever also issued denials, with Suns communications executive Stacey Mitch calling the accusations entirely false and morally reprehensible.
The recent reports concerning Josh Bartelstein and Sophie Cunningham are entirely false and morally reprehensible.
Despite all of this, the damage was already done in the public eye. Sophie went from recovering athlete to trending name, in an online scandal she had nothing to do with. And in the background of it all, the Indiana fever and the undeniable spotlight that comes with playing alongside Caitlin Clark.
Fever players face online trolls and harassment with no league action. All these players deserve equal treatment regardless of race. Address this seriously as the unproven Sky allegations.
To truly understand why Sophie Cunningham is being targeted now, you have to look at the massive cultural storm surrounding Caitlin Clark. Ever since Clark entered the WNBA as one of the most hyped rookies in league history, she's been more than just a player. She's become a polarizing symbol. Her arrival skyrocketed attendance, ratings, merchandise sales, and even WNBA ticket resale prices. But with all that attention came controversy, resentment, and in some cases, outright hostility, not just toward Caitlin, but also toward the people around her. Sophie Cunningham now appears to be the latest in that line of fire.
Sophie Cunningham and her alleged, again, I have to stress the word alleged, these are all allegations. She is no longer with the Phoenix Mercury. It seemed as though the Phoenix Mercury was doing somewhat of a purge.
Sophie wasn't always in the middle of this storm. In fact, she had quietly built a strong career with the Phoenix Mercury, playing solid minutes and developing a reputation as a gritty, physical competitor. But everything changed the moment she was traded to the Indiana Fever, the team now defined by Caitlin Clark's presence. From that point on, Sophie was no longer just a player, she was Caitlin Clark's teammate. And in today's WNBA, that's a spotlight few were prepared for. So when the lawsuit dropped, naming Cunningham in a completely unrelated case involving internal workplace issues within the Suns organization, it didn't stay low profile. The story erupted online. Twitter, Reddit, and even YouTube lit up with speculation, most of it driven by Sophie's connection to Clark.
Sophie Cunningham, she's a hometown hero. It's unfortunate that Sophie is dealing with this, and this could possibly be the reason why, allegedly, we have not seen a lot of Sophie Cunningham action on the basketball court because of these accusations.
Fans started asking whether this was a ploy to distract or damage the Fever. Others suggested that Cunningham's proximity to Clark was the only reason the story gained traction in the first place. Let's be honest. Would this lawsuit have gone viral if Cunningham were still with a lesser-known team? Probably not. Then there's the deeper layer, one involving race and perception. Multiple creators and fans pointed out a pattern. In the current WNBA climate, two players seem to attract disproportionate hate: Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham.
Caitlin Clark takes the floor that maybe is different not only from any player in the WNBA, but from any player in basketball. The Indiana Fever are where they are because of Caitlin Clark. The WNBA is where it is because of Caitlin Clark. The Iowa situation is what it is because of Caitlin Clark.
Both are white players. Both have a strong, visible presence, and both have been relentlessly attacked online. One video pointed this out directly, saying, "Only one player gets as much hate as Caitlin Clark, and it's Sophie." That line wasn't just commentary, it was a mirror held up to the WNBA's growing culture war. And it didn't stop at hate. Sophie's political beliefs, real or assumed, were suddenly being dragged into the discussion. Posts speculated about who she supports, what her values are, and even accused her of not checking the right boxes for the league's image. In other words, Sophie wasn't just being accused of having an affair, she was being targeted because of what people believe she represents. But here's what really connects this back to Caitlin Clark.
Sophie Cunningham being one of the more important players to this team. If she doesn't play, it's going to be a tough one for the Fever.
The WNBA has never seen anything like Clark's impact. With that comes envy, territorialism, and yes, power struggles. Clark's presence in Indiana has elevated everyone around her.
It is a mad situation just all around when it comes to Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark effect seems to be crazier than year one.
And for some, that's a threat. It's no coincidence that ever since Clark joined the league, her teammates have faced more media scrutiny, more online hate, and more intense pressure than players on other teams. It's not just Sophie Cunningham. Remember the online frenzy over Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston's interactions with Clark? The microscope is real. In Sophie's case, her injury and lack of playtime meant she was already vulnerable to speculation. Add in the fact that the Fever's success or failure is constantly tied to Clark's performance.
She is highly likable. I think that lends itself to her popularity as she comes across as somebody that's really just respectful, likable. There's other players out there that just don't come across that way.
And you have a perfect storm. The narrative writes itself. Is Sophie a distraction to Clark's mission? Is she part of the problem? These are the kinds of questions fans were throwing out there, despite Sophie doing nothing but recovering from an ankle injury and staying silent, until she had to speak up to defend her name. So yes, Caitlin Clark is absolutely part of the reason Sophie Cunningham is being targeted. Not because Clark did anything wrong, but because anyone close to her becomes part of the WNBA's most controversial storyline. Sophie is now collateral damage in a much bigger narrative, and that should alarm all of us. To understand what Sophie Cunningham is going through, we need to step back and look at the much broader and much darker picture. This isn't just about a false accusation. It's about how the WNBA handles drama, how the media selectively reports certain stories.
WNBA is drawing their alliances, unfortunately.
And how aligning with certain players, or failing to align with others, can determine whether you're protected or thrown to the wolves. Let's start with the glaring silence. When this story first broke, when a federal lawsuit accused Sophie Cunningham of being involved in an inappropriate affair with a married NBA executive, the WNBA leadership said nothing. No support statement, no clarification, no investigation, nothing. Compare that to other incidents involving players of color or incidents that trended heavily on social media. Cases where WNBA officials stepped in almost immediately to issue statements, suspend players, or condemn fan behavior. That silence isn't just oversight, it sends a message. And the message is this: some players are worth defending, and some aren't. Sophie Cunningham, by virtue of her identity, political assumptions, and now her affiliation with Caitlin Clark, has landed in the latter category.
Sophie Cunningham continued to make progress and is nearing return after missing the last 2 games with the ankle injury. Something, man, because get all the access, man.
She's not the right type of player to champion in today's WNBA, at least in the eyes of some league executives and media outlets. And that's the exact type of unspoken bias that erodes trust in any professional sports league. Now let's talk about how this mess even started. Sophie's name was never meant to be the focal point of this lawsuit. The core of the legal case is a racial discrimination and retaliation claim filed by Gene Taylor, a former Suns security director. His complaint centers on systemic issues within the Suns and Mercury organizations.
Gene Taylor is a black man. Gene being demoted and kind of being bullied. It's a very weird situation, ultimately led into Gene being fired. Gene says that Bolsa told Borstein that Craig told Gene that his health issues were self-induced. So basically his cancer, his own fault. And Borstein tried to sweep it all under the rug.
Claims of ignored safety protocols, cancer-related discrimination, and internal corruption. The supposed affair between Sophie and CEO Josh Bartelstein? That wasn't a verified allegation. It was an unverified rumor, repeated by someone else inside the organization. But it was enough to get her name dragged through the national media. Why? Because Sophie was an easier target. She wasn't the executive. She wasn't the plaintiff. She wasn't even still on the Suns roster. But her connection to the Indiana Fever, and by extension, Caitlin Clark, meant her name carried click value. She was visible, she was vulnerable, and the media saw blood in the water. What's more alarming is how quickly that rumor took on a life of its own. Entire video creators, tweets, and blogs suddenly treated Sophie as if she were guilty. Even after her powerful statement denying the allegations and clarifying she's never even met the man who made them, much of the sports media world stayed quiet. No retractions, no apologies, no follow-ups, just silence. Imagine if the roles were reversed. Imagine if these accusations were thrown at one of the WNBA's darlings, Players who have the league's full support? Players who dominate headlines for all the right reasons? The response would be immediate. The player's reputation would be defended at all costs. But Sophie didn't get that treatment, just like Caitlin Clark hasn't gotten that treatment. Because there's a growing pattern in this league, a pattern of double standards that fans are beginning to notice.
There was a lot of response. A lot of fans had Sophie's back in this entire situation. We believe you, Sophie. We've got your back.
Let's be clear. Sophie and Caitlin are not the only white players in the WNBA, but they are two of the most outspoken, visible, and perhaps most importantly, unapologetically themselves. And that rubs some people the wrong way. Neither woman panders to the WNBA's political narratives. Neither plays the identity game. They just play basketball, and they do it well. But in a league that's increasingly driven by off-court narratives, that can make you a target. And let's not forget the social media firestorm that followed. Fans openly mocked Sophie. Some suggested she had slept her way into a broadcasting role. Others tied the baseless rumor to her absence on the court, hinting that the Fever were hiding her because of the scandal. All of this despite her injury being confirmed and her recovery progress regularly updated.
Sophie Cunningham did go down in the preseason game where the Fever played the Atlanta Dream with an ankle injury.
Not great situation with Sophie Cunningham being injured. It's going to be a big thing for the Fever if Sophie Cunningham can't play. She's the only person that can run the offense when Caitlin Clark's not on the floor.
She was accused, slandered, and judged in the court of public opinion, and the league said nothing. In many ways, this is the perfect example of why so many people have grown disillusioned with the WNBA's leadership. They speak out when it fits a particular narrative. They go silent when it doesn't. That's not fairness. That's not justice. And that's not the equality they claim to promote. It's also worth noting how fragile a player's reputation is in today's sports climate. One false accusation, one headline, one tweet, and your entire career can be derailed. Sophie Cunningham's name is now forever linked to a scandal she had no part in. That's the real cost of media irresponsibility. That's the danger of cancel culture infecting sports. This situation isn't just about Sophie. It's about how players like her and Caitlin Clark are being treated in a league that's supposed to support all women equally.
A fan took this iPhone footage of the Indiana Fever doing a workout after that game against the Atlanta Dream. And it was Caitlin, it was Brianna Turner, Jaylen Brown, and Natasha Howard. They were working out in the hallway and just doing some simple lifting. And then also you can see here, Sophie Cunningham comes out of the locker room and she is wearing a boot. So in 2024, she averaged 16.5 points per game, 4 assists, 5.5 rebounds. She shot 37% from the field and 31.8% from three. Now, if you look at her preseason in 2025, she only played 2 games in this preseason, and one was against that Brazilian national team. She played 21 minutes. She averaged 14.5 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds. She shot 52.5% from the field and 50% from three-point range.
It's about the quiet hostility faced by those who don't conform. It's about what happens when you're on the wrong side of public opinion. And it's about how quickly a powerful institution like the WNBA can abandon its own players when the narrative doesn't suit them. So here we are. Sophie Cunningham, recovering from an injury, dragged into a legal scandal she had nothing to do with, ignored by her league, and mocked online. All because someone repeated a rumor. All because she now wears the same jersey as Caitlin Clark. And that is a disgrace. What just happened to Sophie Cunningham isn't just unfair. It's a warning. A warning about how quickly rumors can destroy reputations, how silence from leadership speaks volumes, and how being linked to someone like Caitlin Clark can put a target on your back. Sophie did nothing wrong. The accusations were false. The statements from her and the team made that crystal clear. But the damage was already done. Because the system, the media, and even parts of the WNBA let it happen, they let it slide. And the question is, who's next? If this league is serious about protecting its players, then it has to stand up for all of them, not just the ones who fit the narrative. Sophie deserves better. Caitlin deserves better.
Caitlin Clark effect seems to be crazier than year one.
She's the face of the league. Agreed.
I love watching her score and just everything about her.
They went the extra mile just to watch her play here.
And frankly, so do the fans. Now it's your turn. If you're still watching and you support Caitlin Clark, no matter what, drop 100% for Caitlin in the comments. Let's make it loud enough that the league can't ignore it anymore. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and get ready, because we're not done exposing the double standards in this league.